Good morning. We are on lesson plan 13. Finally. Today we're going to be making pasta from scratch, as well as a homemade marinara sauce for our pasta. So I'm going to go right ahead and get my hands washed, and we'll get right into it. Okay, so to make our pasta, we're going to need our all-purpose flour, need some eggs. We've also got some olive oil here, and then we're going to need a pinch of salt. So to make our pasta, we're going to start out by measuring about a little less than 3 cups of flour. And we're just going to put that into a mound on our working surface here. There we go. Cool to have a bench scraper or something of the like where you can push the material. All right. So we've got this mountain of flour here. And what we're going to do is we're going to create a crater in the center. And we want this hole to be big enough to hold our eggs and our olive oil like a bowl. Right? Okay. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to break 4 large eggs. Okay. Our olive oil. Okay. So we're going to start whisking the eggs to bring together the eggs and the oil. You always want to make sure that you made your crater big enough. Otherwise, you're going to be stuck with a mess like this. And keep incorporating flour. And at this point, we're going to want to start to knead the dough, because this isn't really going to, quote, mix anymore. So we've just finished making our pasta dough, but it needs to rest for an hour. So what we're going to do is we're going to tightly wrap this in plastic wrap. I'm going to let this sit for about an hour. In the meantime, we're going to work on our pasta sauce. All right, so our pasta dough has been resting for over an hour. That has just kind of allowed the gluten proteins to relax. Similar to like when you work out, you're working out those muscles and they get really tight. You kind of need to just chill out so they can relax and be a little bit more flexible. So that's what happened. We went ahead and we dusted our rolling area, our prep area, with some flour. We put our pasta dough right on top and then dust it a little bit more. I do not have a rolling pin, so I'm going to be using a wine bottle that we have in the house. This has been washed, rinsed, and dusted with flour just to prevent the sticking of the pasta. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be rolling this pasta out nice and thin, because we want to cut these into strips. And thick pasta is essentially a dumpling. So we want to make sure that our pasta is nice and even, preferably a strip or a square, something where you can get even slices. So okay. All right, so we have our pasta dough nice and rolled out. We're looking at maybe an eighth to a little bit less than a quarter of an inch thick. That's what we're looking for, just nice and flat. We're going to go ahead and we're going to fold this pasta over on itself in an accordion style. This is going to give us a lot less sticking, as opposed to if we were going to roll it like a cigar, like a burrito or something. So a lot of flour there. I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna make my folds maybe about 2 inches wide. Doesn't really matter. Actually, I think what I'm gonna do, yeah, I'm gonna roll it up like this. Really good too. I'm excited. All right. So now that we've got this folded accordion style on itself, get a little bit more dust, a little bit more powder. We're gonna use our bench scraper, and this is just gonna get us a nice clean cut. So I'm gonna go ahead and slice these kind of thin, not too thin. Here we are with our pasta noodles. And we're basically just kind of unfolding them, making them loose so they don't cook like dumplings. Bum, bum, bum. Some of them are a little thicker than I personally would like. However, this is my first time making pasta, so I'm just doing this, making sure that all these pieces are evenly coated with flour. And here we have our pasta, and we're going to make our tomato sauce and make us a nice little dinner. All right, so we're making our tomato sauce. In this pot here, I have carrots, onion, and garlic, and I'm going to sweat these until they get nice and soft. Okay, now that our carrots, onions, and garlic are nice and soft, we're going to go in and add our can of diced tomato. We're also adding some thyme. That's some thyme there. And some oregano. And we're going to let this cook down for about an hour. So we'll be back in about an hour and see what happens. I'm going to keep this on low. Alright, so here we have our pasta sauce. It's been simmering for about an hour. I've actually went ahead and added some tomato puree as well, just to give it more body. Also, we did have quite a bit of pasta that needs to be made, so I wanted to make sure I had enough sauce to stretch it. I'm actually going to go ahead and just kind of add some mushrooms to this, just because I personally do love mushrooms with my pasta. So I'm going to go ahead and do that off camera. But next we're just going to kind of go into making the pasta. All right, so we're finally making our pasta. Now, according to our recipe, we want to make sure, obviously, we have our boiling water. Let's see. So we have well salted water at a boil. It's very hot. That's salty. There we go. We're going to go ahead and we are going to boil this pasta for about 5 minutes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a small handful, just because, one, I don't need all this pasta. I'm just one person, and my family would love to eat this pasta, but they're not here right now. So they're going to have to boil their pasta separately. But we're going to go ahead and we're going to drop our pasta noodles in the water. Another small little handful. Okay. I'm just gonna move those around just to make sure that they don't stick to each other. And we're gonna let that boil for about, gonna let these cook for about 5 minutes. All right, so it's been about 5 minutes and our pasta is nice and al dente. I'm gonna go ahead and drain this and we can go ahead and get it plated. Okay, awesome. So we have our fresh pasta here. We're gonna go ahead and we're gonna put it in the bowl. And then we're gonna top it off with some of our marinara sauce. And me personally, I like to top off my spaghetti with nutritional yeast. So I have my nutritional yeast flakes here. Just gonna give that a good little sprinkle. I like that instead of Parmesan cheese. And yeah, here it is, our homemade pasta with our homemade marinara sauce.